Church in Louisville, Kentucky, 1968 to 69. Then he moved to Louisville, Kentucky, 1971 to 1978. Then he was at Gibson White Oak Presbyterian Church in Keokuk, 1978 to 1989. And I have a few comments here. The light is a little bad in my eyes. I'm so good. We'll see if we can do this. I remember Ken marrying our daughter, Vicki and Brad. The whole family cried except me. I thought that was the mother-in-law's job. We'd gone to White Oaks for Easter service Sunday. We waited and waited. No Ken. The Alpers girls said when they delivered the Sunday paper, there were no lights in the house. Someone called his house. It was daylight savings time. One of his many jobs was director of summer Bible school. The most memorable would be the village, held outside. The children experienced making clay pots, rope belts, bricks, and much more. You can often see Ken riding the bike on our country roads. He also rode in RAGBRAI, which just finished up. The young couples group had such a wonderful time, and the kids together. It was such a great time, and thank you, Ken. So those are kind of remembrances from Gibson. So then he moved to First Presbyterian in Davenport. Here's some of the comments from Davenport. This is from Steve Jobman, the director of music. Ken Aronson's ministry is not his vocation. Ken's ministry is his life calling, and he certainly serves the Lord with gladness. On your feet now, applaud God. Bring a gift of laughter. Sing yourself into his presence. From Psalm 100. Ministry is full of challenges to meet, and Ken has dealt with more than his share. But his shepherding has always rooted in grace and gladness. Davenport's First Presbyterian Church treasured Ken's gift of pastoring, mentoring, preaching, administering, singing, and creating fun. In the early 1990s, we did a production of the Broadway show Nonsense. Ken conceived, and you saw a picture of this if you notice in the slideshow, Ken conceived and created a pre-show for that performance by the Brothers of Kirkwood, a monk-like, robe-wearing, guitar-playing bunch of singing troubadours. They finished their musical set with a raucous and extremely well-received rendition of Drop Kick Me Jesus Through the Goalpost of Life. My career has never yielded another pastor with that unique fusion of leadership skills. Now, Ken is going to play later on, and maybe we... No, just kidding. We want to see the Dr. Aronson anchored First Presbyterian Davenport through some difficult times. Sound familiar? And likewise, Ken anchored me through some life-changing personal challenges. I will be always grateful to Ken for his pastoral leadership and his personal friendship. I pray God's richest blessing to Ken and Sue as they enter retirement. Well done, good and faithful servant. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Steve Jobman, Director of Music. He's now in Dallas. Okay, so that's that. Ken also served with Hal Pease, who was interim pastor, and here's what he had to say. If ever there were a pastor who has earned his retirement, it's Ken Aronson. When I arrived at the interim head of staff at the First Presbyterian Church of Davenport in 1994, Ken was the associate pastor who had been filling in for the senior pastor who had to step aside for medical reasons. Ken's skills and experience not only enabled the congregation to start dealing with the reality of their pastor's absence, but he was an invaluable resource to me. For 2 years, I had the privilege of working with Ken, observing his commitment, benefiting from his wisdom, and enjoying his company both on and off duty. Ken, both you and your wife Sue deserve your retirement. I highly recommend it. May you too claim it and enjoy it. That's Reverend Hal Pease from First Presbyterian Davenport. A couple more, and then we're going to have some activities where you're going to be involved. So, who can tell me who hired Ken to come here? Sam Massey. Okay, so here's Sam's comments. I remember how impressed I was by Ken when I first met him, and that impression has never left me. Ken's pastoral patience and caring ministry provided a stability to Westminster during my time that was very effective. His willingness to work with the deacons, to make pastoral calls, to preach with tone and stories that moved our hearts, and to focus our staff with good humor empowered my own ministry. I was still young in ministry when I arrived at Westminster. He made me a better pastor and staff leader during my tenure. I admit that his sermon stories in particular have stuck with me. The coffee cup that came out of the machine upside down. Do you remember that one? How he became a Presbyterian, and several others still make me ponder God with a chuckle. Ken's revelation as a rocker created a wondrous paradox which continued with his soul deep wisdom. I was found of Sue, the boys, James and David, and the daughter Renee. I count myself a wealthy man having known Ken as a friend and colleague and having worked with him. I wish him and his family the very best of God's blessing. May God's peace be with you both. That's from Sam Massey. Okay, one more, and this is from Amy Miracle. Ken, it was an absolute joy to be your colleague. You've always been so good at the job of being a minister, so comfortable in the role, so gifted in the work. You were kind and generous, always putting the need of others before your own. You have served Westminster faithfully, deeply, and well. I treasure our time working side by side. I trust that others will speak of your interesting fashion sense and strange love of old cars. VW Beetles, right? Singing with you and Mary Beth was a highlight of my short musical career. Where do you go after playing the egg? After all, thank you for introducing me to the classic American songbook, I Want a Hippopotamus for Christmas. Today I add my voice to the chorus of those giving thanks to God for you, Ken and Sue, for all you've done to share your love and grace. Blessings to you from Amy Miracle. So now, that kind of brings us up a little bit up to where, we all knew him, but so in honor of the blue shades, you all have blue sunglasses. And it's time to put the shades on. You got nothing after this, but anyhow. Okay, so, yes, we need a group picture. This has got to be a Guinness World Book Record or something. Okay, so now the mission is, all of you have a sheet of paper in front of you and a pen. Please consider how Ken and Sue have touched your lives. These will be collected and put into a book for Ken, and we're going to kind of try and do this again Sunday morning when we have that celebration. So take a moment to think about when Ken and how Ken and Sue have touched you. Write those down, and then we'll have a few minutes where you can share within your table your stories. And so please take a few minutes to do that.